Hey everyone, Vendow here. Thanks for joining me for another Skull and Bones video. I'm attempting to reveal the enemies that we are going to encounter while playing Skull and Bones. If I get this right, it will mean that we have a multinational, multi-ethnic, multicultural, diverse enemy to face. We're going to be playing as pirates. That is something we already know. As pirates, that really, only a few times in history were pirates actually trying to control themselves, and it was really dependent upon the ship. Certain pirates refused to attack anything that spoke English. If you were an English ship, they wouldn't attack you. They would only go after French or Dutch trading ships, and or Spanish for that matter. And we saw that in the Caribbean, and I know it existed in the Indian Ocean as well. But that comes from their practice. A lot of pirates started out as corsairs, or men with letters of marque from the king, who were able to go out and hunt the enemy ships under a letter of marque, and they were allowed to go privateering. So we were probably going to see a little bit of that. I would not be surprised if there are times that we could possibly receive letters of marque from another nation. You can't have the entire Indian Ocean, which housed what would become one of the busiest trade routes in the world, and not come across all these other nations that were out there. So to start with, perhaps the most populous of all of these trading consortiums that we might come across will perhaps be the British East India Company, also known as the EIC, or the East India Company, or the Honorable Company. Talk about having a lot of names, right? Or the John Company. We're probably going to come across them. They were starting to get their foothold on the trading coming through the Indian Ocean at this time. The British Empire was beginning to expand in this direction. It was directly challenging, starting back in the 1680s, the presence of the Dutch. There were a few wars that were even fought with the Dutch in order to establish more direct or hard trade routes in this area. Well, you can't talk about the East India Company without bringing up the Dutch East India Company, which existed in this part of the world well before the British even got a foothold over there. The Dutch were trading back and forth with China and India. Spice trade was happening. Things were moving, and the Dutch had an impressive stranglehold on this part of the world. Even had some colonies set up in India. Hopefully, we're going to get to come across the Dutch East India Company, also called the VOC. And I won't even try to pronounce this in Dutch, so yeah, sorry, not even going to attempt it. But, we're going to hopefully run across them and get to farm some Dutch ships. The Dutch were around in this part of the globe until about the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War in 1780 to 1784, where at that point they really started to suffer financially from the British and the East India Company. The other big player that we're going to see, which really the decline in this nation, this empire, was what really allowed the British East India Company to start to influence the region a little bit more, and that is the Mughal Empire. I'm sorry, it's Farsi. It's not Farsi, it's Urdu. I probably completely wrecked that name, but the Mughal Empire in India was the dominant force in this part of the world, and they shared some of the trade routes with the Dutch. Really, they controlled what was happening, and there is several documented incidents where pirates ambushed Muslim ships coming back from the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. And these ships would be laid with so much gold and jewels that it was part of the inner commerce of the Islamic world at the time. So, these ships would be targets of pirates. Even, in the report for the trial for Captain Kidd, he was even accused of taking for prize one of these Muslim treasure ships. So this would be a very exciting thing to see in Skull and Bones. To see a Mughal Imperial dhow loaded with treasure, I mean, that would be fun. I would enjoy that very much. All right, so perhaps the last major nation that we're going to come across as an enemy for us to, rob and steal on the high seas will be the French East India Company. Of course, can't have the other companies without bringing up the French. They were also in direct competition at the time, and the French East India Company existed until about 1785. Well, it was absorbed by the crown in 1769. Then it tried for a revival in 1785, and then it went bankrupt in 1794. But it's still the point is the entire company existed at the time that this game will take place, which the date that we have is the one on the intro video, which is on the teaser video, which is 1720. So the French East India Company had a foothold in Madagascar, where it established a colony. It also established itself in India. So, I expect to come across French ships on our trade routes that we will be raiding. Now, this opens up a whole big possibility. I don't even know how I want to say it. There is the potential for a lot of unique ship types that we could potentially see in this game. Not only are we going to see those 3 that we saw in the teaser trailer, but having all these nations in the same area allows us to have the potential for very unique styles of frigates, very unique styles of galleons, ships of the line, sloops. Sloops could be dhows. You have all kinds of different potential for ship types. So I'm excited that the area in which this game is taking place is such a diverse region of the world at this time. So, this game just has so much potential under the surface. So it will be exciting to see where the developers take it from here. As always, smash that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.